I'm going to take you to LeHigh, Iowa, to a place so unusual that the Fae can't resist spending time there. It's called Vegors Cemetery. So what makes this cemetery such an attractive place for the Fae? I believe many of the things that we find interesting, the Fae do too. You'll see what I mean very shortly. Also, how do I know the fairies can't resist living or visiting Vegors Cemetery? The proof is in the camera. The very first time I visited Vegors Cemetery, I photographed a remarkable number of unusual beings. I'll be sharing some of my favorites with you toward the end of this video. But before we dive into the photos, let's see what is so incredible and so irresistible about Vegors Cemetery. First, history and age. Vegors was founded in 1849, and as you will see, it has some crazy history. Second, uniqueness. Some places have features, history, and/or characteristics that you simply don't encounter anywhere else. Vegors has 3 specific stones that definitely put it in the unique category. Let's take a look. The words on this first unique stone say, "This memorial marks the most northerly of 5 Indian mounds in this cemetery. Donated 1960 by E.H. Hawbaker." The second cemetery stone says, "Mrs. J.N.O. H. Lott, died January 1849 from exposure of Indian raid. First white woman settler in Webster County," which is where Vegors Cemetery is located. This third stone is probably the most unique of them all. And it says, "Here in 1960 were reburied the bones of several prehistoric people of this region who were originally buried as a bundle," and bundles in quotes, "on a hilltop southeast of the mouth of the Boone River." So I'd say these 3 stones definitely put Vegors Cemetery in the unique category. Third, mystery and/or haunted stories. Vegors has its share of legends and unexplained tales. For instance, does Sally Lott still roam the grounds? Why are some of the headstones reported warm on freezing nights? Where are the voices and music coming from that people say they hear? Is there really a Native American curse? These are just a few of the mysteries surrounding Vegors Cemetery. Last, location. Where a place is located, the atmosphere it creates, and ultimately how it makes you feel can make all the difference. Vegors Cemetery was built on 5 Native American burial mounds in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by woods and nature. It is peaceful by day, and you can imagine that it might be more than a little spooky at night. Truly, what's not to love about this cemetery? It has everything. So let's see in the photos what Fae love this cemetery too. Here we have a young girl wearing a bonnet and a long dress. She is turned and looking behind her at something we can't see. She is smiling, as can be seen by her tiny round cheekbones. For some reason, this little one reminds me of a troll, except for the horn protruding from his forehead. He did his best to blend into his surroundings, right down to squinting his eyes into a line, but his other features were just so clear. He actually looks like he was saying something. I feel like this fairy is in deep thought, or he might have watch duty for some reason. Or he is a very wise sage, and this is the place other beings come to take counsel with him. So many questions. At any rate, it is his profile we see as he looks down toward the ground. A very unique fairy in ceremonial robes, appearing to be performing some kind of ritual within the woods. My depiction definitely does not do him justice. He is very regal and impressive. This gentleman fae seems to be dressed in garb that is similar to the time of the Three Musketeers or the 17th century. We can see him in profile, his nose and his hat being quite prominent. Compare him to the leaves and you will see just how small he is. There is no missing this beautiful little fairy. I call her a pixie. She has done a tremendous job of blending with her surroundings. If I had not enlarged the picture, I would have never seen her. The photo on the left is only a small portion of the photo she is a part of. This fairy is dressed very warmly, it seems, with hat and coat. I almost feel like he is trying to warm his hands on the surface in front of him, or he is a young healer practicing his new healing craft. Now this one is a cutie, and she is so tiny. Look at her in comparison to the leaves. She is even wearing something that looks like a tennis shoe. I get the feeling she was playing dress up and hid when she saw me. Of course, I would never have seen her with the naked eye, but she stood out in the enlarged photo. Perhaps a fairy-sized relative of the indigenous people from the area? It looks like she is wearing a ceremonial type mask, or this may be just what is worn all the time. I feel like we've entered a realm of sadness here. It almost looks like she is on her knees crying, like she just dropped where she is because the sorrow was just too much. The camera was never meant to catch this moment, but it does show us that fairies have emotion too. There is more to this little one in the picture to the left, I think. It almost looks like he is on his hands and knees looking for something. He blends in so well with the leaves. His color is perfect. This is something I believe many of the fairies practice from a very young age. Here we have a male fairy that I definitely did not do justice to in my painting for you. He is very well dressed with amazing posture. The metal pole in the picture to the left belongs to the Vegors Cemetery sign at the cemetery entrance. This fairy was our welcome, I guess. Here we have a young girl or woman fairy walking through the tall grass. In comparing her to the leaves, I'd say that the cane is an excellent idea to try to stay on the feet. She looks like she's quite confident in traveling through this terrain. If the look on her face is any indication, she even appears to be enjoying the walk. She is a tiny one. This little fairy is looking a little sad as he looks at the ground from behind the huge grass blade. I'm thinking he is an elf due to his pointed ear, but I don't know this for sure. Could he perhaps be on his own at such a young age? This might be normal in the Fae world. We just don't know. This little Fae is much cuter than my painting. She does seem to be very comfortable and at home sitting up in the tree. It was her shiny nose that made me notice her as she is in the distance on the full photo. So what is it about Vegors Cemetery that attracts the Fae? Is it the history, the unusual monuments, the mysteries and haunted legends, the burial mounds, the secluded locations surrounded by nature? I'd say yes to all of the above. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, take care.